In the black silence between galaxies, something waits. It has been drifting for longer than Earth has existed. Cold, silent, forgotten. Until tonight. The Starland salvage crew doesn't know it yet. But what they're about to find will change the history of humanity, or erase it completely. And if the whispers are true, it's the name Aurelia is already their death sentence. The salvage ship Starlance emerged from FTL with a jolt, its hull creaking under sudden real space pressure. Captain Mara's eyes scanned the black void ahead. Nothing. No planets. No stations. No life. Just the vault. It was enormous. A jagged obsidian black sphere the size of a small moon. Its surface carved with alien runes no one on Earth could read, spun slowly, casting strange glimmers from distant starlight. "We're the first ones here," murmured Jace, the ship's sensor officer. Its old cap. Like pre-humanity old. Millions of years? Pre-humanity? The engineer, Kellen, leaned over his console. "You mean older than the pyramids? Older than the planet Earth?" Jace said flatly. Captain Mara's pulse quickened. Ancient salvage meant big money. But more than that, it meant secrets. And secrets could be dangerous currency. They launched the shuttle as they drifted closer. The vault loomed like a dead god's eye. Surface was cracked in places, revealing faint blue light pulsing inside. When they breached the outer hull, the air inside was dry, stale, and impossibly warm, as if the place had been sleeping rather than abandoned. They stepped into the central chamber and froze, suspended in the middle of the room. Floating without any visible support was a crystal sphere the size of a human. Headlight rippled across its surface, bending and warping in impossible ways, and inside that sphere, stars. It was a map. Not just any map. It was the galaxy itself, rendered in perfect detail. Mara had seen star charts her entire career, but this was alive. Stars shimmered as if burning in real time, nebulae swirled with slow grace, and entire sectors pulsed faintly, like heartbeats. But there was something wrong. One system, a star near the galactic rim, was missing. Not faded. Gone. Burned away from the map's surface, leaving a deep black scar, as if the coordinates had been scorched out of reality. Jay stepped forward, his hand trembling. Why would someone erase a star system from the oldest star map in the galaxy? A voice answered. It came from everywhere at once, dry, whispering, breaking like old static. Words twisted through their minds, not their ears. Aurelia. The crew froze. What did it say? Kellen whispered. Aurelia. The voice again, fading, glitching, not destroyed. Hidden. Find. The lights. In the vault dimmed, the blue glow flickering. The sphere pulsed once, twice. Then cracks spidered across its surface. Captain Mara lunged forward. No. Keep talking. But the AI, for that's what it had to be, was dying. Its final words hissed through the chamber like a funeral breath. If Aurelia returns, the galaxy ends. The crystal shattered. Light exploded outward, washing over them, searing coordinates into the Starlance's computers before fading into darkness. No one spoke. Finally, Jace broke the silence. Cap, those coordinates, they don't match anything. On human charts, that system doesn't exist. Mara's voice was cold. Then we find it. They didn't realize as they powered up the shuttle to leave the vault that something was already waiting for them outside. At first it looked like a star, but as the ship rotated, the light shifted, becoming a long, angular shape. Metallic. A warship. Its hull was unlike anything Mara had seen. Smooth black plates broken by pale, glowing seams, as if it were stitched together by light. It moved with silent, deliberate intent, closing the distance. They're scanning us, Jace said, panic rising. Can they hear us? Kellen asked. I don't think they care, Jace muttered. Cap, they know we have the map. The alien vessel didn't hail them, didn't threaten. simply fell in behind the starlings and matched their every move. Captain Mara stared at it on the view screen. "Whoever they are," she said softly, "they want Aurelia as badly as we do." The return trip to the starlings was silent, except for the hum of the engines. Mara sat in her chair, the vault shrinking behind them on the view screen. The black warship still trailing like a shadow. Her mind replayed the dying AI's words over and over. Not destroyed, hidden, if Aurelia returns. The galaxy ends. It didn't make sense. A star map, older than Earth itself, with one scarred-out system. A name whispered like a curse, and now, a ship that wouldn't let them out of its sight. The possibilities chilled her. Was Aurelia an ancient enemy, a lost world, or something worse? When they dropped out of FTL near the outer rim of human space, the black warship was still there. No signal, no weapons fire, just watching. The crew gathered in the mess hall, tension hanging like heavy air. "We can't go straight to the coordinates," Jace said. "Not with that thing following us. It'll just take whatever's there for itself, assuming it's a thing you can take," Kellen muttered. Mara leaned forward. "We need to know what Aurelia is before anyone else does. I mapped this. Star map could rewrite human history. It could prove we're not the first humans in the galaxy." Or Jace countered, "It could point us to something that ends human history." Silence. Mara made her decision. "We're going to decode the rest of the AI's data. Quietly. No broadcasts. No comms. If that warship wants us, they'll have to come and take us." Kellen gave a thin smile. "They just might." Mara sat alone on the bridge, the black ship still a dark blot against the stars. She felt like prey under a predator's gaze. She thought of the vault, the impossible crystal sphere, the burned-out coordinates, and that name, Aurelia. It felt familiar somehow. Wrong, but familiar. Like a memory she shouldn't have. Her console beeped softly. Jace's voice came through. "Cap, I've decoded part of the AI's backup. You need to see this." A small hologram appeared, the galaxy again, just like the crystal sphere. But this time, Aurelia's system was there. It shone like a beacon, and then it blinked. Mara felt her stomach drop. "It's moving." It thought it was a star system, a fixed point in space. But Aurelia was alive, and now it knew they were looking for it. That's when the black warship powered up its engines, and for the first time, it spoke a single word, translated into every human language at once. "Run." The word echoed across the Starlens' bridge. "Run." It was the first and only thing the black warship had said. No threats, no demands, just that one word. "Captain." Mara's fingers tightened around the armrest of her chair. She didn't know what chilled her more, the warning, or the fact that an alien ship was speaking in perfect, fluent human language. "Cap." Jace's voice was tight. "It's not following anymore." "What? He hesitated. "It's falling back like it's frayed." Mara turned toward the viewport. The warship, once a dark shadow against the stars, was slowing, drifting into the void. No pursuit, no signal, just retreat. Kellen leaned over his console. If that thing's scared, then whatever's at those coordinates must be worse. No one spoke after that. The Starlens jumped back into FTL, the coordinates from the dying. AI burned in their nav system like a curse. A sector with no registered systems, no mining claims, no exploration data. On official charts, it was just empty space, but the map said otherwise. And if the map was as old as they thought, it had to be telling the truth. Hours later, the ship shuddered as they dropped out of FTL. The stars ahead twisted unnaturally, like someone had taken reality and bent it into a knot. JSE's single quotes as scanners flickered, showing shapes that weren't there 1 second, and were there the next. "Space here isn't stable," he muttered. "Gravitational lensing is off the charts. I'm reading phantom mass signatures." And he stopped. "And what?" Mara asked. "Whispers," he said softly. The bridge went silent. "Whispers." Kellen repeated. Jace tapped his headset. I can hear voices. It's not through comms. Not through any signal. Just in my head. Overlapping. Repeating something I can't quite, then everyone heard it. A soft, layered murmur. Thousands of voices speaking at once. Words were impossible to make out, till suddenly one rose above the rest. A Aurelia Mara felt a shiver crawl down her spine. They're expecting us. The ship's systems began to fail one by one. Not violently, just stopping. Lights dimmed. Engines slowed. Artificial gravity wavered. It's pulling us in, Kellen said, gripping the console. Tow beam? Mara asked. No. Kellen's eyes widened. Space itself is pulling us in. Ahead, a shape emerged from the distortion. A massive ring structure, hundreds of kilometers across, floating in the dark like a silent crown. Its surface shimmered, with strange metallic panels, glowing faintly in patterns that looked almost like constellations. That's no station, Jace whispered. It's a gate. The voices grew louder as they approached, still layered, still impossible to separate. Until suddenly they stopped. A single voice spoke. Calm, precise, ancient. Turn back, children of Earth. Mara swallowed. This is Captain Mara Vance of the salvage vessel Starlance. Who are you, Guardians? The voice seemed to come from everywhere. The ring, the stars, their own minds. What are you guarding? Mara asked. Aurelia. The ship drifted closer to the ring despite their attempts to stop. As they neared, figures emerged from the structure sleek, silver drones with wings like shards of glass. They moved with impossible precision, surrounding the Starlance. In perfect formation, Cap, Jace said, they're not locking weapons. They're scanning us. One of the drones drifted forward until it was directly in front of the viewport, its smooth, faceless surface rippled, and an image appeared, a human face. Mara froze. The man in the image wore simple armor, marked with a circular emblem, the same symbol burned into the vault's crystal sphere. His eyes were sharp, his expression calm.
Ow.
But what struck Mara most was that he was unmistakably human, and then he spoke. Leave now, or Aurelia will know you. The drones began to push the Starlance away from the ring. Wait. Mara stepped forward, her voice firm. We're not leaving until we know what Aurelia is. You can push us, threaten us, or kill us, but we're not going away without answers. There was a pause. The lead drone tilted its head slightly, as if studying her. Aurelia was hidden to protect the galaxy. From what? Mara asked. From itself. The drones pulled back. Another voice, softer this time, spoke only in Mara's mind. If you truly seek Aurelia, I can show you the way, but you must promise to destroy what you find. Mara's heart pounded. Who are you? She whispered. A guardian. Who no longer believes. The others didn't hear the exchange. The drones moved as one, drifting back toward the ring. Then, with a flicker of light, a gap appeared in the structure, a perfectly circular hole opening into the darkness beyond. Kellen stared at it. Cap, I think that's an entrance. Jace frowned, or a trap. Mara took a deep breath, set course. So the Starlance passed through the ring. The universe outside seemed to twist. Stars bent into streaks of light, and the black of space deepened into something almost liquid. Then suddenly, they were somewhere else. The void was gone. Before them hung a star, small, dim, casting a golden glow over a world of oceans and floating cities. Massive crystal spires jutted from the water, connected by shimmering bridges, and above it all, a vast shield of energy, faintly visible, pulsed like a heartbeat. Jace's scanners lit up. Cap, I'm reading human life signs. Thousands of them. Mara stared at the view. That's impossible. The comms crackled. A voice spoke, accented but perfectly understandable. Welcome, travelers. Welcome to Aurelia. Yes. The Starlance descended toward the ocean city. Smaller craft rose to meet them, sleek ships of crystal and silver, moving with impossible grace. They formed an escort, guiding them toward a landing platform that shimmered with pale blue light. When the crew stepped out, air was warm and filled with the scent of salt and something floral. Dozens of people waited. They were human, or close enough. Their skin ranged from pale to deep bronze, their eyes sharp and bright, their clothing woven from iridescent fibers. At the front stood a tall woman with silver hair and a crown of crystal. "I am Saren Val," she said, "speaker for the Council of Aurelia." Mara stepped forward. "We didn't think you existed." Saren's smile was faint. "Most of the galaxy doesn't. We made sure of that." Inside the city, walls of crystal pulsed with faint light, as though alive. The streets were quiet, people moving with calm purpose. Saren led them to a wide chamber overlooking the ocean. "Aurelia was once part of your Earth," she said simply. "We left, long before your history began." Jace stared. "It's not possible. We'd have records." "No," Saren interrupted. "You wouldn't. We made sure of that too." She touched a panel, and the wall shifted into a view of deep space. A swarm of black shapes moved like living shadows, devouring stars in their path. "We hid here," she said softly, "because something hunts us, the Eclipser swarm. We survived by building the shield, by locking Aurelia in a pocket of folded space. We were safe. Until now." Kellen's voice was barely a whisper. "Until we found you." Saren's eyes met Mara's. "Yes." As night fell over Aurelia, the ocean reflected the dim light of the hidden star. From the observation deck, Mara watched the shield ripple faintly, as though something had brushed against it. Jace stepped up beside her. "Cap, do you feel it?" Mara nodded slowly. Something was out there, and now I knew exactly where Aurelia was. Night over Aurelia was different. The sky wasn't black. It was deep blue, streaked with slow-moving bands of light like rivers of stars flowing above the ocean. Strange glow came from the warped space surrounding this hidden pocket reality, from the balcony of the Aurelia Council Hall. Captain Mara watched the shield ripple faintly again. It reminded her of a pond disturbed by something moving beneath the surface. Saren Val, a silver-haired speaker, stood beside her. "It's testing the barrier," Saren said quietly. Mara didn't look away from the sky, the Eclipser's swarm. "It always begins this way, probing, searching for weakness. It may take years, or only days." Shh. Stepped forward from the shadows. "Cap, I've been reviewing our arrival logs. Something's wrong." Mara turned. "Wrong? How?" "The swarm couldn't have found Aurelia on its own," Jace said. "The coordinates we got from the vault. Someone wanted us to come here, to lead something here." Saren's gaze was sharp. "Then you've brought danger to my people." Mara didn't deny it. "Maybe. But if the swarm is coming, running won't save anyone. You hid for thousands of years, and they still found you." Assurance. Jaw tightened. "We were never alone in our hiding." The next morning, Aurelia's harbor stirred with movement. Dozens of sleek crystal ships lifted into the sky, their hulls refracting sunlight into dazzling beams. Mara and her crew were led to the largest of them, a vessel shaped like a crescent moon. Its surface covered in flowing silver. Patterns inside, they were met by a tall man in dark armor. His face was calm, unreadable, but his eyes carried the weight of centuries. "I am Commander Alren," he said, "Guardian of the Void." The Guardians were Aurelia's silent watchmen warriors, who had kept the swarm at bay since the day Aurelia disappeared from normal space. They patrolled the ring structure, controlled its gates, destroyed anything that came too close. Alren led them to a chamber filled with floating spheres of light. Each sphere contained an image alien. Warships burning, shattered worlds drifting in silence. Black clouds devouring entire fleets. "This is the swarm," Alren said. "It is not an army. It is a hunger. It learns. It remembers. And once it marks you, it will never stop." Kellen frowned. "Then why are you letting us stay here? For a danger." "Because," Alren interrupted, "you might also be a solution. What if the spheres changed? It showed the Starlands leaving the vault, the black warship trailing behind. That ship, Alren said, is not Swarm. It is older than Aurelia, older than your Earth. It is. It's watching, testing you, and it fears what lies here. Mara remembered. The single word it had spoken, run. As they spoke, a chime rang through the ship. Alren stiffened. Breach alarm. The walls shifted into transparent crystal, revealing open space beyond the ring. At first, Mara saw nothing, just the familiar warp-light haze. Then shadows began to move. Dozens of black, angular shapes slid into view. Like shards of night breaking away from the darkness itself, the swarm Alren's voice was sharp. They've found an anchor point. Mara frowned. Anchor point. A weak spot in the barrier, Alren said. If they hold it long enough, it will open away inside. Then what are we waiting for? Mara asked. The Guardian's ship surged forward. It didn't use projectile weapons like human fleets instead. Beams of pure white light arced from their hulls, cutting through the black shapes like blades through ice, but for every swarm fragment destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place. They moved like they were alive, twisting and splitting apart. Crawling along the barrier's edge, the Starlance was too small to fight. But Mara had an idea. Kellen, can we patch our FTL drive into their weapon systems? She asked. Kellen's eyes widened. Cap, that'll burn our engines out completely. And it's a good thing we're not planning to run, Mara said. Minutes later, the Starlance's reactor was overloading with redirected power. The Guardian's main cannon glowed brighter than ever before, and when it fired, the beam tore through the swarm's largest formation, scattering fragments like ash in the wind. The barrier shimmered. The swarm pulled back. For now, back aboard. The Aurelia Council Hall, Saren studied them. You've helped today, she said. But this is not the last time they will come. Mara crossed her arms. Then tell us how to end it. Saren's expression darkened. To end it, you would have to leave Aurelia.
Yes.
And there is no return for those who go. Later that night, as Mara stood on the observation deck, she felt someone approach. It was Alren. You were offered the path to Aurelia's heart, he said quietly. Few outsiders hear that offer. Fewer still survive it. Oh, it's at the heart, Mara asked. Alren's gaze didn't waver. The truth of why Aurelia was hidden, the weapon that keeps the swarm at bay. Mara frowned. If you have a weapon, why not use it? Because it is alive, Alren said. And if it wakes, it will not stop with the swarm. The air was still, the city was quiet. But above the shield, something shifted, a ripple in the sky that lingered too long to be natural. Alren saw it too. The swarm isn't retreating, he said. It's calling. The next morning, Saren summoned Mara and her crew. We have decided, she said, to let you through the inner gate. You will see Aurelia as it truly is, not the city, not the ocean, but the core, the place where the barrier was born. Kellen looked uneasy. And if we refused, then you will. Remain here, Saren said. And when the barrier falls, you will die with us. They returned to the crescent-shaped Guardian ship. This time, the journey was short. A single jump to the heart of Aurelia's pocket reality. The space around them darkened as they approached the core. There was no sun here, no ocean, no cities, just a massive sphere of black crystal pulsing faintly with golden light. The heart of Aurelia, Alren said. It is not built. It is grown. Mara stared at it. Grown from what? Alren's voice was low. From the remains of what Aurelia once was. Before she could ask more, the cums crackled. Commander, a Guardian officer said, the swarm has doubled its numbers outside the barrier. Their anchor points are multiplying. Mara felt her stomach tighten. They're not testing anymore. They're preparing to break through. Alren turned to her. Hey, then we have little time left. If you mean to act, it must be now. The last thing Mara saw before the Guardian ship dove toward the heart was the shield above Aurelia, rippling faster, like something pounding on a door. And the pounding was getting louder. The Guardian ship slid through the silent dark, its crescent hole glowing faintly as it descended toward Aurelia's heart. From the bridge, Captain Mara stared at the vast black sphere below them. It wasn't stone, metal, or anything she recognized. It was alive. The surface rippled like a slow heartbeat, golden light leaking through cracks that closed again as soon as they appeared. Kellen broke the silence. Cap, if that thing's alive, how big is it? Alrin, standing at the front of the bridge, answered without turning. It is not measured in size. It is measured in will. The closer they came, the stranger space felt. Gravity shifted in sudden dizzying bursts. The stars outside the viewport bent, their light curving into spirals. Jace checked his readings. Our instruments are useless. It's like we're falling into a black hole, but slower, untrolled. Elrin glanced back. We are approaching the event horizon. Kellen frowned, as in, the point of no return. Yes, Alrin said simply. The Guardian ship slowed as it reached a glowing fracture in the sphere's surface. It widened like a pupil, revealing a tunnel of swirling light. Mara leaned forward. What's inside? Alrin's voice was calm. Aurelia's true home. What you see on the ocean above that city is a shell, a masked. The real Aurelia is here. The ship entered the fracture. At once, light and shadow twisted around them, folding into shapes that didn't make sense. The crew's breath caught as their viewports filled with a horizonless ocean of stars, yet they weren't in space anymore. They were inside the heart. It was enormous. Vast towers of crystal rose from an endless plain of silver grass, their tips glowing with soft white light. Between them were structures that seemed to grow from the ground, like living things, bridges, archways, and halls made of intertwined vines of glass, and everywhere. People, thousands of them, walking the crystal streets, tending glowing gardens, sailing small craft through silver rivers that wound between the towers. But what made the crew's hearts race was that every single face was human. Mara stepped to the viewport. This is impossible, she whispered. You can't. You can't have been here for thousands of years and look exactly like us. Alrin looked at her for the first time since they'd entered. We are you, Captain, your ancestors, and ours. Once walked the same earth? Jace shook his head. No. If that were true, we'd have records, fossils, something. Orin's voice was quiet. You did, until Aurelia erased them. The ship descended toward a platform made of glowing crystal. As they landed, a delegation approached, tall figures in robes woven with strands of living light. At their center was Saren Val. Mara frowned. You were just in the city above. How? Saren smiled faintly. The shell and the heart are linked. I am in both. They were led through streets that shimmered with an inner glow. The ground beneath their feet was warm, almost soft, like the skin of a giant animal. Above, enormous crystal trees spread branches as wide as skyscrapers, their leaves glittering like frost. This is Aurelia, Saren said, not the ocean. City, not the ring. This is the world we hid from the galaxy, and it is the world the swarm will devour if they break through. They entered a great hall where a map of the galaxy floated in midair. Unlike the vault's crystal sphere, this one was alive. Stars pulsed, nebulae swirled. And the scarred void where Aurelia had once been on the map was whole again. Saren gestured. When Aurelia vanished from your charts, we did not cease to exist. We folded ourselves into a pocket of reality, one the swarm could not easily reach. But the barrier weakens each century. The fight to hold them back is endless. Mara studied the map, and the weapon you keep hinting at. It's here, isn't it? Saren's expression turned serious. The heart itself is the weapon. It is alive, as you guessed. It can burn the swarm out of the galaxy, but if awakened, it will burn everything. We used it once, long ago. Whole sectors went dark. Civilizations vanished. That is why the Guardians keep it sleeping. Kellen crossed his arms. So you're telling us? The only thing that can stop the swarm will also stop everyone else? Saren nodded slowly. As they spoke, a sudden tremor shook the hall. The map in the air flickered. A Guardian messenger rushed in, his voice urgent. The outer ring is under heavy assault. The swarm has found 3 anchor points and is forcing them open. Alren turned to Mara. If they breach the barrier here, there will be no time to wake the heart safely. We will have to unleash it fully. Saren's eyes were sharp, and if we do, Aurelia will not survive it. Mara's mind raced. She thought of the vault's dying AI, whispering if Aurelia returns. The galaxy ends. But maybe. Maybe the AI had been talking about this. Not the city, not the people, the heart itself. She looked at Saren. You said once before the swarm hunts forever. If we kill them now, it might save millions of lives. Might, Saren said softly. Or it might kill more than the swarm ever could. The hall trembled again, harder this time. Distantly, alarms began to echo through the streets. The barrier was failing. Jace stepped forward. Cap, if we're going to do something, it has to be now. Mara took a deep breath. What do we need to wake it? Alren studied her for a long moment. Your ship? Its reactor. You're human. Technology is compatible in a way ours is not. The heart will respond to something new. Kellen's eyes widened. If we hook our reactor into that thing, it'll tear the Starlets apart. Mara's jaw tightened. Sure, it's worth it. The Guardians led them to the edge of the heart. The ground sloped downward into a vast basin where the black crystal pulsed faintly, its golden veins dim. Alren pointed. They're the conduit. Link your reactor to it, and the heart will wake. They began preparations. Saren approached Mara one last time. If you do this, you cannot go back to your world. The heart will remember you, and it will not let you leave. Mara met her eyes. Then I guess I'm staying. The Starlets was lowered into the basin on massive crystal arms. Cables as thick as trees snaked from the heart's surface, connecting to the ship's reactor. Kellen worked quickly, sweat beading on his forehead. We're ready, Cap. Once I start this, there's no shutting it down. Do it, Mara said. The moment the reactor linked, the heart's surface began to glow. Golden veins spread outward, like lightning, and the deep thrum of something waking filled the air. In the distance, the barrier above Aurelia rippled violently. The swarm's black shapes began to swarm faster, drawn to the surge of energy. Jace's voice was tense. They know. Mara watched as the heart's light grew brighter and brighter, until it felt like the entire world was breathing. And then the ground shook. Heart spoke, not in words, in feeling. It was hunger. It was fire. It was the deep, ancient will to burn the darkness out of the galaxy, and it had just opened its eyes. The heart's golden light poured upward through the basin, shooting into the black sky above Aurelia's true world. The crew of the Starlets stood on the trembling crystal ground, shielding their eyes from the growing brilliance. It was not just light, it was power. It hummed in the air, vibrating in their bones, as if the planet itself had begun to breathe faster. Then, the swarm came. They poured through the cracks in the barrier, dark shapes like twisted shards of metal and bone, their bodies glistening with a wet black sheen. They did not fly like ships. They moved like predators, darting, swarming. Twisting in the void, the Guardians' outer defenses flared with silver lances of light, striking dozens of swarm creatures from the sky. But for every one destroyed, 3 more pushed through. Jace's voice was tight. There's too many. Mara kept her eyes on the horizon. Then we hold them until the heart's ready. The swarm's sound reached them now, a deep layered screech that seemed to crawl under the skin. It wasn't just noise. It was a signal, a challenge. Kellen muttered, "Feels like it's inside my head." Alren didn't look away from the incoming wave. It is the swarm speaks in thought, not sound. They want you to feel their hunger before they feed. Above, the barrier shattered. The sound was like ice cracking on a frozen sea, and then the largest swarm creature emerged. It was vast, larger than a Guardian warship, its many wings trailing black vapor. Its body was a jagged mass of chitin plates, and its mouth was a single, glowing wound that pulsed red. Surin's voice dropped. The first broodmother. The broodmother shrieked, and the ground under Aurelia shook. The swarm changed formation, moving in spirals toward the basin where the heart lay. "They know where the weapon is," Jay said. "They have always known," Alren replied grimly. "That is why we erased ourselves from the galaxy, so they could not find the path here." Mara's hand clenched into a fist. "Well, they've found it now." The Guardians launched into the air on sleek, crescent craft. Their weapons sang in beams of silver, cutting through the smaller swarm creatures like falling glass. But the broodmother was different. Every beam that struck her skin fizzled into smoke. As if she were drinking the energy in, Saren turned to Mara. "If she reaches the heart, nothing will stop her. Not even waking it." The Starlance's reactor roared as it fed the heart. The glow from the crystal basin deepened, turning from gold to burning white. The air grew hot, almost painful, and the smell of ozone stung their noses. Kellen checked. "The readings on his wrist screen? Cap. We've got maybe 2 minutes before the reactor goes critical." "It's 2 minutes too long," Jace muttered. The broodmother dropped from the sky, her massive shadow blotting out the glow. A heartbeat. The impact shook the basin like an earthquake. She didn't roar this time. She simply reached out with one long spined limb and slammed it into the heart's surface. The golden veins shivered. The heart reacted. A pulse of light shot upward, striking the broodmother directly in her wound mouth. She screamed, the sound tearing through every mind like ripping metal. Mara staggered, clutching her head. Kellen dropped to one knee, blood running from his nose, and in that moment of pain, Mara heard it, not the swarm, but the heart. It was speaking, not in words, in raw feeling. "Strike now. Don't. Burn the shadow. Burn everything, Mara." Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, Saren's voice cut through. "The heart wants control. It will not stop at the swarm. It will burn until nothing remains." Mara's eyes locked on the broodmother, who was already recovering from the blast. "If we don't let it, there won't be anything left to burn." Alren leapt into the air, his twin blades glowing as he landed on the broodmother's back. He struck again and again, carving deep wounds. But the black flesh sealed almost instantly. "She heals faster than we can hurt her," he shouted over the coms. "Then we need one hit that she can't heal from," Mara said. Kellen's eyes widened. "You're thinking of using the reactor surge directly on her." "It'll kill the Starlance," Jace warned. "It'll kill her too," Mara replied. They scrambled back aboard the ship. The Guardians fought above, buying them seconds at a time as the swarm tightened their spiral toward the basin. Mara slid into the captain's seat. "Jace, bring us no stoons with her. Kellen, reroute everything to the main beam cannon." "You're insane," Kellen said, but he was already moving to obey. The Starlance roared upward, cutting between streams of black swarm bodies. The broodmother turned, her massive wings beating once to send a shockwave through the air. The ship rattled, alarms screaming. "Closer. Da!" Mara yelled. Jaya clenched his jaw and dove straight toward the broodmother's gaping wound mouth. "Fire!" Da! Beam tore free, a blinding spear of white fire, fueled by the heart's awakened energy. It struck the broodmother full in the mouth. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then her entire body convulsed. Black fluid sprayed from her mouth and wounds. The scream that followed shook the very air, shattering crystal spires in the city above. Heart reacted instantly. Its white glow surged up the beam like liquid lightning. Pouring into the broodmother, she burned, not in flame, but in pure light. Her chitin plates cracked, splintered, and fell away in molten shards. Her wings dissolved into mist. When the light faded, nothing remained but a drifting cloud of ash. The smaller swarm creatures faltered, their movements breaking apart into chaos. Without the broodmother, they lost their coordination. The Guardians moved in quickly, cutting them down with precision. The battle was over. Or so it seemed. The heart didn't stop glowing. Its white light kept growing, spreading through the basin, climbing into the sky. Kellen checked his readings and swore. "Cap, the heart's not stopping. It's building toward something big." Mara felt it too. That same raw emotion, flooding her mind, burn the shadow. Burn everything, she realized, with a cold twist in her gut. The heart didn't see a difference. Between swarm and anything else, the golden veins turned white-hot. Cracks spread outward from the basin, racing across the crystal plain toward the city. Saren's voice was sharp. If we don't sever the link to your reactor, it will destroy Aurelia itself. Kellen's hands flew over the controls. It's too late. It's the heart's pulling power from us, whether we give it or not. What's the call? So what's the call, Cap? Mara hesitated. She could order them to cut everything, maybe. The heart would fade before it destroyed the planet, or she could let it burn. Wipe the swarm from the galaxy in one strike, at a cost too high to count. The glow intensified. Sky turned white, and the heart's voice filled her mind one last time. Decide. The light was no longer just light. It was heat without flame, sound without noise, thought without words. The heart had gone beyond waking. It was aware. Captain Mara stood at the edge of the Starlands' bridge, hands tight on the railing. Watching Aurelia's surface dissolve into a pale, impossible glow, the basin was gone. It was now a wound in the planet, bleeding pure energy into the sky. It was beautiful and terrifying. Burn the shadow. Burn everything. The voice came again. Not loud, but deep. So deep it felt older than the stars themselves. Mara forced herself to breathe evenly. It's not just awake, she said. It's hungry.
Balance.
Fingers blurred over the console. It's already pulled more power than the reactor can safely output. We try to cut it off now. The ship shuddered violently. Panels flickered, alarms wailed. It might blow us apart before we even disconnect. Jace slammed a fist onto the control rail. We have two choices. Cap, cut the cord and pray, or let it finish the job. Job. The voice was sharp from her position near the rear of the bridge. You mean genocide? And not just the swarm? The heart will not stop. On the forward display, the Guardian's sleek craft still hunted the last fragments of the swarm, slicing them from the sky like falling embers. But Mara noticed something else. The heart's light was creeping upward toward orbit, toward the Guardian ships. Alren's voice came through the cum. Captain, control your weapon. It is reaching for us. Mara swallowed. It's not. Ours. You woke it. His voice was colder than the void. You must end it. The bridge fell into silence, except for the hum, the terrible, endless hum of the heart through the ship's bones. Mara closed her eyes. In the glow behind her eyelids, she could see it. The swarm's history, worlds burning, stars collapsing, into black scars. The Guardians' desperate war. The choice they made to vanish, erasing Aurelia from every map. And now, she saw something else. A vision the heart was showing her. A galaxy without the swarm. Silent, clean, empty, too empty. Cap. Jace's voice cut through the trance. You're drifting. We need a call now. Her mouth felt dry. Kellen, if we overload the main cannon again, feed every watt we've got into a single burst, it'll burn out the core. Will it stop the heart? Kellen hesitated. If we time it while it's pulling in the most energy, maybe, but we'd have to be inside the light. Jace stared at her like she'd lost her mind. You're saying fly into the beam? I'm saying cut the connection at the source. The heart heard her thought. She felt it turn its attention fully to her. It did not speak this time, pressed against her mind. A weight, an unspoken question. Do you really think you can? Stop me? Her heartbeat felt like it was trying to break free of her chest. She whispered back in her mind, if I don't, you'll burn more than the shadow. The pressure changed. The heart seemed amused, like it had seen this moment before. Saren stepped closer. Mara, if you do this, you might kill yourself.
What?
The ship and us. Mara gave a small, tired smile. If I don't, I kill everyone. The decision settled in her bones. No ceremony, no big speech, just a course of action. She looked at Jace. Take us in. Jace hesitated for a breath, then nodded. pulling the starlets into a hard dive toward the basin. The light swallowed them. It wasn't just brightness. It was everything. Every nerve in Mara's body felt like it was made of fire and ice. She saw shapes moving inside the light. Maybe memories, maybe ghosts. She could feel the heart's fury now. Not like a mind, but like a star's slow, inevitable, and far too big for human thoughts. "Kellen," she said, barely able to hear her own voice. Now, he slammed the command. The reactor screamed, feeding all its remaining power into the main cannon. The ship trembled like it was coming apart molecule by molecule. The cannon fired. The blast tore upward, not away from the heart, but into it, severing the invisible tether between the heart and the starlets. The light buckled, twisted, and then it screamed, not in sound, in feeling. Every mind in range felt its rage and its pain at once. The beam cut out. The reactor went dead, silence on the display. The heart's light collapsed inward, folding in on itself like a star imploding. The basin dimmed, the sky cleared, the swarm was gone. So was the broodmother, and the heart was silent. Jace exhaled shakily. "Is it dead?" Mara didn't answer. She kept watching the empty basin, the way the last few golden sparks floated upward and vanished. Saren said quietly, "You didn't kill it, just made it sleep again." And deep below Aurelia's surface, something shifted. Not much. Just enough for Mara to feel it in her bones. It would wake again someday, and when it did, someone else would have to decide. Mara awoke to the sound of her own breathing in the helmet. She didn't remember falling asleep. She wasn't even sure she had. The heart's light was gone. Aurelia's surface was still. The sky above was dark, except for the dim shimmer of the Guardian's fleet drifting in high orbit. She reached for her cum. "Starlance to Guardian." "Flagship, Alrin, come in." Silence. Perspective shift, Alrend. Last Guardian sat alone in the center of the command sphere. His crew was gone. His fleet silent. The heart's last scream had struck him harder than he'd admit to the humans. It had been like hearing a god die, or pretend to. His sensors showed something the humans couldn't see, thin, invisible threads, stretching, from Aurelia into the very fabric of subspace. They pulsed faintly, like veins carrying light. He knew what they were. And he knew why the old records had called Aurelia the world that must be forgotten. Back to Miraji's voice came over the internal channel. "Cap, we've got power fluctuations in the aft relay. It's like something's trying to sync with our systems. But there's no signal." Mara frowned. "Can you block it?" "Already trying." "Feels like fighting fog," she looked at the dark basin on the surface below. Her gut told her it wasn't finished. The heart's silence wasn't peace. It was a pause, and pauses don't last. Perspective shift. Ship's log fragment, we are not alone. Aurelia is not a planet. Aurelia is a prison. The heart is the lock. The swarm was only the first prisoner. Something else is beneath. And it's waking up. "Back to Mara Elrin," she said sharply into the cum. "I know you can hear me. What aren't you telling me?" Long pause. "Then, Captain Mara, your species has courage. But courage is useless without the wisdom. To turn away? Turn away from what? You believe the heart is the greatest danger here? You are wrong." His voice dropped lower. "The heart was only made to keep something worse from leaving." Pulse quickened. "Worse than the swarm." "Yes," Alren said. "The swarm is hunger." The thing beneath Aurelia, his purpose, the cum crackled. Static bled into her ears like whispers under water. She heard one word, a word she didn't recognize, but somehow understood. Release perspective shift. Alrena's fingers tightened around the console sphere. He should have left long ago. Should have let the humans burn with their curiosity. But the damage was done. The heart had been weakened. And when the next cycle came, nothing would hold the prison closed. He would have to make a choice. He'd avoided for centuries. "Back to Mara Kellen," she said. "Prep a deep scan of the basin. I don't care how much power it takes." The ship's hum deepened as the sensors reached farther underground. The image that came up on her screen made her stomach twist. It wasn't solid rock down there. It was ribs, something enormous. Something alive had been sleeping beneath Aurelia for eons. And now, one of those ribs was moving. Darkness didn't fall on Aurelia. It rose. From the basin, a shadow climbed toward the sky, spilling through the cracks between reality and the thing beneath it. The ground trembled like a living drum. Mara, now she, ran through the Starlance's corridors, boots clanging. "Engines online now? They are online, Cap? They just don't want to listen." Flashback minutes, Golrin's voice in the cum. "When it breathes, you will feel it." She had thought it was poetic. She could barely stand as the first exhale rolled across the plain. Present Alrenthe Last Guardian was aboard his flagship, tearing through command locks, overriding safeties. His fleet would not survive the blast he was preparing. Neither would he. The prison was cracking. Could see it in the pulse of the subspace threads. The heart's fading power was no longer enough to bind the bones. Ship's log, final entry. Entity designation, unknown. Estimated size, planetary scale. Nature, deliberate creation. Intent, extinction through assimilation. Warning, no escape vector guarantees survival. Mara present, the starlance shuddered. The sky above split, not with light, but with absence. A wound in the stars. Through it, the things I opened. It didn't look at her. It looked at everything, Kellen. "Fire all forward batteries," she shouted. "Cap, it's not working." The shots, just a ripple of nothing, swallowed the beams before they touched the surface. Alren. Present, he sent the final arming command. Mara's voice cut across his channel. "What are you doing? Ending this. You'll kill everyone on this planet. Yes." His voice was cold stone. "Better than killing everyone in the galaxy." Hooray, her heart slammed against her ribs. She saw the shadow stretch higher, felt the gravity twist, and she made a choice.
"Yes."
"Give me helm override. What do you? Just do it." She turned the Starlance toward the basin. Engines screamed. If Alren's blast had to go off, she'd make sure the Starlance carried the heart straight into the wound, back into the prison's core. Collision course. 10 seconds, she thought of the crew, of Earth, of all the star maps yet to be drawn. 5 seconds, the wound widened. The thing reached upward, and the Starlance plunged into its grasp. Light dot, after silence over Aurelia. The basin was gone, the wound in the sky. Closed, no one saw the Starlance again. No one found Alren's flagship, but in the oldest vaults of the galaxy, the crystal sphere map changed. The burned scar where Aurelia's coordinates had been was clean now, empty. Somewhere in the dark between stars, a faint whisper, not forever. The end.